1 week ago, Maya had done the impossible. She'd exposed Officer Matthews, the man who killed her father 25 years ago, in a video that went viral and cost him his badge. But when she discovered him days later working school security, still in uniform, still around children, the injustice burned through every carefully built wall she'd constructed around her rage. Now he was at her door. 3 sharp knocks shattered the silence. Maya stood in her living room, her father's baseball bat, gripped tight. Through the blinds, she could see Matthews on her porch, an unregistered gun visible in his waistband. Her phone sat on the coffee table. 911 already dialed but not sent. She stared at those 3 numbers and let the screen go dark. Calling the police wouldn't save her. They'd believe him. They always did. Maya. His voice came through the door, calm, almost gentle. I just want to talk. Her hands trembled on the bat. Every instinct screamed, don't open it, lock the deadbolt, hide. Instead, Maya walked to the door. Her fingers touched the lock. Matthews expected fear, tears, begging. What he found was something far more dangerous. A woman who'd spent 25 years preparing for exactly this moment. Maya stepped back, the door swinging wide. Matthews hesitated on the threshold, eyes darting from her face to the baseball bat in her hands, then to the dark living room behind her. You gonna use that? He asked, nodding at the bat. His voice was steady, but his smile didn't reach his eyes. Maya said nothing. Just watched him, waited. He stepped inside. The door clicked shut behind him. I just want to talk, he said again, hands raised in a placating gesture. That's all. No violence, no drama. Just 2 people who need to clear the air. The bat stayed firm in Maya's grip, her father's bat. The wood worn smooth from 1,000 practice swings in their backyard before the world fell apart. Matthews looked around the room, cataloging exits, angles, obstacles, cop instincts, predator instincts. He thought the gun in his waistband gave him power, thought fear would make her compliant. He had no idea he'd already lost. Matthews moved to the center of the room, hands still visible, still playing the reasonable man. You destroyed my life, Maya. His voice carried practiced hurt. My wife left me, took the kids, won't even let me see them. I lost my pension, my reputation, everything I spent 26 years building, all because of one video, one moment. He shrugged off his jacket, tossing it onto her couch. The motion was casual, unthreatening, but Maya saw what he wanted her to see. 2 guns, the Glock 22 in his duty holster. Registered, documented, his service weapon, and tucked into his waistband, barely concealed by his shirt, a Taurus .38 revolver. No serial number, no registration, no paper trail. She'd seen this in case files, dozens of them. The playbook was always the same, the registered weapon to kill, the drop gun to justify it. Thought I saw her reaching for a weapon, Your Honor. Matthews took a step closer. All I'm asking is, was it worth it? Destroying a man over something that happened 25 years ago? Over a mistake? His hand drifted toward the Glock. Not threatening, not yet. Just resting there. A reminder of who held the real power in this room. I don't want this to end badly for you, Maya. I really don't. The threat hung in the air, unspoken but crystal clear. Maya's eyes lifted from the guns to the ceiling. 6 cameras, she said. Her voice was calm, clinical. All recording, audio and video, cloud backup uploading in real time. Matthews followed her gaze. His face went pale. She held up her phone, screen facing him. A live feed showed 4 different angles of her living room. Him standing in the center, both guns visible, timestamp running in the corner. Live stream, Maya continued. Being sent to 3 people right now. My attorney, My colleague at the Justice Department and a reporter at the Washington Post who's been covering police accountability for 15 years. Matthews's hand froze on the Glock. Interesting choice, Maya said, bringing two guns to a conversation. The Glock 22 registered to you, and that Taurus .38 that I'm guessing has no serial number. Tell me, Officer Matthews, which one were you planning to find on me after you shot me with the other? His jaw clenched. She'd named them, identified them. She knew his playbook better than he'd ever imagined. You're in my home, she said, each word precise. Armed with an unregistered weapon, threatening a federal prosecutor. That's not a mistake, Matthews. That's 3 felonies before you even pulled a trigger. He stood frozen, trapped in a web he hadn't seen her weaving. Every word you've said is evidence. Every second you stay is another charge. Maya's phone buzzed. She glanced at the screen, then read aloud, her voice steady. Officer Chen here. I'm on your street. He didn't come alone. 2 patrol cars waiting 3 blocks east. But I recorded everything from the parking lot. I can testify. The blood drained from Matthews's face. Chen, he whispered. That little... He's a traitor. No, Maya corrected. He's an actual police officer, the kind who took an oath and meant it. Matthews's bravado cracked. His shoulders sagged. You don't understand, he said, voice breaking. The department, they threw me under the bus. 26 years of service, and they tossed me aside like garbage for doing what they trained me to do. What they trained you to do? Maya's grip tightened on the bat. Murder unarmed men, plant evidence, hunt black people like animals? It wasn't like that. Then what was it like? Matthews sank onto her couch, head in his hands. The guns, both of them, suddenly felt like dead weight. The quotas, he said quietly. Nobody talks about them, but they're real. Arrests, stops, tickets. If your numbers were low, you didn't get promoted. You didn't get the good assignments. You got buried in some nowhere precinct watching your career die. His voice cracked. Your father. I didn't know him. I didn't hate him. I needed an arrest that night. I'd gone 2 weeks without a good collar. My sergeant was breathing down my neck. And when I saw him, black guy, nice car, wrong neighborhood, I thought... You thought you could get away with it, Maya finished. Matthews nodded. The gun. I kept it in my trunk. For situations like that. Plant it. Call it in. Case closed. I'd done it before. The system protected me every time. How many times? He looked up at her, eyes red. I don't know. 10, 15. After a while, they all blurred together. It wasn't personal. It was just numbers, quotas, survival. Maya's phone was still recording. Every word, every admission, every justification that sounded like a confession. Just numbers, she repeated, her voice hollow. My father was just a number. Matthews looked at her, desperation replacing defiance. Turn me in, he said. I'll confess. I'll take the sentence. Just don't release that video. My kids are already suffering. My daughter won't talk to me. My son got expelled for fighting after kids called his dad a murderer. He stood, hands clasped like a prayer. Please, punish me, destroy me, but don't make my children pay for what I did. Something inside Maya snapped. Your children! The words erupted from somewhere deep, somewhere she'd kept locked for 25 years. What the hell do you think I was when you put a bullet in my father? I was 8. I watched you murder him. I sat in his blood while you lied to your sergeant. Her hands shook on the bat. Tears burned her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. I grew up without a father because of you. I watched my mother work 3 jobs because of you. I spent 25 years in therapy, in law school, in a system that told me his life didn't matter because of you." Matthews said nothing. There was nothing to say. Maya took a breath. Another. The rage slowly crystallizing into something colder, sharper. "I'm going to use your confession," she said, "but not just to destroy you, to destroy the system that created you, the quotas, the protection, the culture that turns badges into hunting licenses." She picked up her phone and dialed. Not 911, not the local police, the FBI. "This is Dr. Maya Sullivan, Senior Attorney, Civil Rights Division," she said into the phone, her eyes never leaving Matthews. "I need to report a confession to multiple federal crimes, including the murder of Marcus Harrison in 2000. The suspect is in my home right now, armed, recorded, and ready to be taken into custody." Matthews sat on her couch, defeated, broken, the guns useless, the plan shattered. Maya ended the call. The confession wasn't the end. It was just the beginning. The FBI arrived within 40 minutes. Not the Baltimore Police Department, not the state troopers. Federal agents in unmarked sedans who treated Maya's living room like a crime scene, which technically it was. Matthews was cuffed and read his rights. The Glock and the drop gun bagged as evidence. The recordings copied onto 3 separate hard drives with chain of custody documentation that would hold up in any courtroom in America. Maya watched from her doorway as they loaded him into the back of a black SUV. He looked small, defeated, nothing like the man who'd haunted her nightmares for 25 years. Special Agent Victoria Reeves stayed behind, a sharp-eyed woman in her 40s with the kind of face that had seen too much and forgotten nothing. "We need you to come in tomorrow," Reeves said, handing Maya a card. 9 a.m. Bring everything, every case file you have on Matthews, every complaint, every pattern you've documented. "I have files on 5 other officers, too," Maya said quietly. "Same district, same patterns." Reeves's expression didn't change, but something flickered in her eyes. "Bring those too." 24 hours later, Maya sat in a conference room at the FBI field office in downtown Baltimore, surrounded by 3 agents and 2 attorneys from the Department of Justice's Civil Rights Division. She'd brought 17 boxes of documents. "Jesus," one of the attorneys muttered, staring at the mountain of evidence. "How long have you been building this?" 7 years, Maya said. "Since law school." She walked them through it. Matthews wasn't an anomaly. He was part of a system. Officer Daniels, 21 complaints, 18 involving black men, 3 fatal shootings. All ruled justified. Officer Morrison, 16 complaints, pattern of planting evidence in drug cases. Promoted to detective last year. Officer Hayes, 12 excessive force complaints, transferred between 3 precincts, never disciplined, and overseeing all of them, Sergeant William Miller. The man who'd shown up at that parking lot, who'd ordered Maya cuffed, who'd protected Matthews for over a decade. Miller didn't just ignore complaints, Maya explained, spreading incident reports across the table. He actively buried them. Look, 3 civilians filed complaints against Matthews in 2015. All 3 complaints were lost in Miller's office, never made it to internal affairs. Agent Reeves leaned forward. "Do you have proof Miller deliberately suppressed these?" Maya pulled out an email. Printed, time-stamped, from Miller's official department account. "Matthews is solid. These complaints are just the usual noise from people looking for a payout. File under NFA. NFA. No further action." "There are 47 cases like this," Maya said. 47 people who tried to get justice and were silenced. Some are dead now. Some are in prison on charges these officers fabricated. All of them deserve to have their cases reviewed. The room went silent. Finally, Reeves spoke. "We're opening a full civil rights investigation into the Baltimore Police Department's 5th District. As of right now, this is a federal case." The news broke within hours. Not because Maya leaked it, she hadn't said a word publicly, but federal investigations don't stay quiet. Someone in the department tipped off the press, probably hoping to get ahead of the narrative. By evening, every major outlet was running the story. FBI investigates Baltimore police after viral confrontation leads to murder confession. Federal probe uncovers alleged pattern of civil rights violations in 5th District. Officer caught on video confesses to planting evidence in 2000 fatal shooting. Maya's phone exploded. News requests, interview offers, messages of support from civil rights organizations across the country, but also threats. Hundreds of them. Anonymous messages telling her to watch her back. Photos of her house with crosshairs photoshopped over the windows. Voicemails that were nothing but heavy breathing and whispered slurs. The Baltimore Police Union issued a statement calling the investigation a witch hunt and Maya a radical activist with a personal vendetta. By midnight, someone had spray-painted "traitor" across her garage door in red letters 3 feet tall. Maya stood in her driveway at 1 a.m., staring at the word, a federal security detail watching from a parked car at the curb. Her phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "You're making enemies, but you're making allies too. Keep fighting." Chen. Officer James Chen paid for his conscience within 48 hours. He was summoned to Internal Affairs on a Tuesday morning and told that his conduct during the incident involving Officer Matthews showed a lack of loyalty to fellow officers and a breach of department protocol. Translation: he'd testified against one of their own. They couldn't fire him outright, not with the FBI watching, but they could make his life hell. He was reassigned to desk duty, stripped of his patrol car. His locker was vandalized. Someone had scrawled "rat" across it in permanent marker. Officers he'd worked with for 3 years wouldn't look at him in the halls. His partner, Rodriguez, pulled him aside in the parking lot. "I can't be seen with you, man," Rodriguez said, not meeting his eyes. "My sergeant told me if I associate with you, I'm done. I got a family, I can't—" "I'm sorry." Chen nodded. He understood. The blue wall didn't just protect the guilty, it punished anyone who tried to climb over it. By Friday, his wife Sarah had received 3 calls at her workplace, anonymous voices telling her that her husband was a traitor to the badge, and that accidents happen to traitors' families. Their 8-year-old son came home from school crying. Someone had written, "Your dad's a snitch," on his backpack. Chen sat at his kitchen table that night, staring at his badge, wondering if doing the right thing was supposed to hurt this much. His phone rang. Maya. "I heard what they're doing to you," she said without preamble. "I'm sorry." "Don't be," Chen said quietly. "I knew what I was signing up for when I sent that text." "You didn't sign up to have your family threatened." "No, but I signed up to be a cop. A real one. And real cops don't cover for murderers." There was a pause. "I'm starting a foundation," Maya said. "The Marcus Harrison Foundation for Police Accountability. I need an investigator, someone who knows how the system works from the inside, someone I can trust." Chen closed his eyes. Leaving the force would mean losing his pension, his benefits, everything he'd worked toward for 6 years. But staying meant becoming everything he'd sworn not to be. "When do I start?" he said. While Chen's world collapsed, another domino fell. Sergeant William Miller was placed on administrative leave pending the FBI's investigation. The official statement said he was cooperating fully with federal authorities. The reality was messier. Miller had been smart, careful. He'd never put anything overtly incriminating in writing. The emails Maya had found were suggestive, but not conclusive. His defense attorney argued he was just a supervisor doing his job, making judgment calls about which complaints warranted investigation. My client never ordered anyone to plant evidence or use excessive force, the attorney told reporters on the courthouse steps. He's a dedicated public servant being scapegoated by an overzealous federal probe. 3 weeks into the investigation, the U.S. Attorney's Office announced they didn't have enough evidence to charge Miller with criminal conspiracy. He was allowed to retire, with full pension, with benefits, with a clean record. Maya watched the press conference from her office, her hands clenched so tight her nails drew blood. Miller had enabled Matthews for over a decade, had buried complaints, had protected a killer, and he was walking away. Agent Reeves called her that afternoon. "I know, I'm sorry. We couldn't make the case stick. He covered his tracks too well." "He destroyed lives," Maya said, her voice hollow. "He knew what Matthews was doing and he let it continue because it kept the arrest numbers high." "I know, but knowing and proving in court are two different things." Maya hung up, stared at the wall. This was justice in America. Incomplete, imperfect, agonizingly slow. Matthews would face trial. The other officers were under investigation. 47 cases were being reviewed. But Miller, the man who'd built the machine that enabled it all, got to retire to Florida with a government pension. Still, dominoes were falling. Captain Lawrence Briggs, commander of the 5th District, was forced to resign after internal emails surfaced showing he'd been aware of the quota system and had actively encouraged it. The police union went into damage control, issuing statements about a few bad apples while privately threatening legal action against anyone who cooperated with the FBI. And outside the department, something else was building. The NAACP Legal Defense Fund reached out to Maya, offering resources and support. The ACLU filed an amicus brief supporting the federal investigation. 3 civil rights organizations announced they were launching a joint oversight initiative to monitor the Baltimore PD's reforms. Protests erupted outside the 5th District station. Not violent, just hundreds of people holding signs with the names of Matthews's victims: Marcus Harrison, Jamal Henderson, Robert Chen, names that had been forgotten, buried in closed case files. Now they were being remembered. Maya stood in her office late one night, looking at the evidence wall she'd built. Photos, documents, timelines, connecting Matthews to 23 victims over 18 years. Her phone buzzed. A message from Agent Reeves. Matthews's attorney offered a plea deal. 15 years, no parole. Trial date set for 6 months from now if he rejects it. We'll need you to testify. Maya stared at the message. 15 years. Her father had been dead for 25. It wasn't enough. It would never be enough. But it was more than any of the other 23 families had ever gotten. She typed back, "I'll be there." The confession wasn't the end. The investigation wasn't the end. This was a war, and wars weren't won in a day. But for the first time in 25 years, Maya felt something she'd almost forgotten. Hope. 6 months felt like 6 years. Maya testified for 11 hours across 3 days. The defense attorney tried everything, attacking her credibility, suggesting she'd fabricated evidence, implying her entire career was built on a vendetta rather than justice. But the confession held. Matthew's own voice recorded in her living room, admitting he'd planted the gun, admitting the quotas, admitting it had happened before. Officer Chen testified too, described the culture in the 5th District, the unspoken rules, the way supervisors rewarded officers who produced numbers, regardless of how they got them. 47 cases were presented. 47 lives destroyed by a system designed to protect itself rather than the people it served. The jury deliberated for 6 hours, guilty on all counts. Judge Maria Santos didn't hesitate during sentencing. "Officer Matthews," she said, her voice carrying through the packed courtroom, "you betrayed your oath, you weaponized your badge, and you turned public service into a hunting license. The court sentences you to 25 years in federal prison without possibility of parole." Gasps rippled through the room. Matthews' attorney started to object, but the judge raised her hand. "You took a father from his daughter. You planted evidence on an innocent man and ended his life to meet a quota. And you did it knowing the system would protect you. That protection ends today." Maya sat in the gallery, hands clasped in her lap, watching as they led Matthews away in handcuffs. 25 years. The same amount of time she'd lived without her father. It should have felt like victory. Instead, it felt like exhaling a breath she'd been holding since she was 8 years old. But Matthews wasn't the only one sentenced that day. Of the 5 other officers implicated in the investigation, 3 took plea deals. Officer Daniels got 8 years, Morrison got 6, Hayes got 5, mostly because his defense successfully argued he'd been following orders and was less culpable than the others. The 4th officer, Patterson, went to trial and was acquitted. Insufficient evidence. The jury couldn't be convinced beyond reasonable doubt. The 5th, Rodriguez, Chen's former partner, cooperated with prosecutors and received immunity in exchange for testimony. The system gave and the system took away. Even in defeat, it protected some of its own. Sergeant Miller never faced charges. He sent Maya a letter from his retirement home in Sarasota, a single page that read, "I'm sorry for your loss. I should have done more." She burned it. Captain Briggs published a memoir 6 months later titled "Leadership Under Fire: My Years in Baltimore PD." He never mentioned the quota system, never mentioned the buried complaints. The book sold poorly and was remaindered within a year. The Baltimore Police Department implemented sweeping reforms, body cameras made mandatory, independent oversight board established, quota systems officially banned. Maya knew better than to think that words on paper meant change, but it was something, a crack in the wall, a precedent that could be cited in other cities, other cases, other fights. The cost, though, the cost was staggering. Maya's relationship with Daniel, her partner of 4 years, ended 3 months into the trial. He'd tried to be supportive, but the death threats, the security detail, the media circus, it was too much. "I love you," he'd said the night he left, packing his belongings into boxes. "But I can't live like this. Always looking over my shoulder. Always wondering if someone's going to follow me home because they're angry at you." She didn't blame him. She'd chosen this fight. He hadn't. Sleep became a luxury. Maya dropped 18 pounds she couldn't afford to lose. Her therapist increased their sessions from weekly to twice weekly. One night, 6 months after the sentencing, she drove to Greenlawn Cemetery. It was past midnight. The gates were locked, but she climbed the fence anyway, something she would have lectured a client never to do. Her father's grave was in the northwest corner, under an oak tree that had grown taller in the years since his death. Maya sat on the grass, knees pulled to her chest, and cried. Not the controlled professional tears she'd allowed herself during the trial. Full, body-shaking sobs that tore through her like a storm. "I got him, Dad," she whispered to the headstone. "I got him. 25 years. He's never getting out." But it didn't bring Marcus Harrison back. Didn't give her 25 years of soccer games and school dances and college graduations with her father in the audience. Justice had been served. but justice didn't resurrect the dead. 1 year after Matthews' sentencing, Maya stood at a podium in the Baltimore Convention Center. 300 people filled the hall: law students, community organizers, families of victims, young activists with fire in their eyes and hope they hadn't yet learned to temper with caution. Behind her, a banner read, "The Marcus Harrison Foundation for Police Accountability, First Annual Summit." Chen sat in the front row, now the foundation's director of investigations. In the past year, they'd assisted 42 families in filing complaints, trained over 500 community members in their rights during police encounters, and successfully pushed for policy changes in 3 Maryland counties. Maya's hands trembled slightly as she gripped the podium. "My father, Marcus Harrison, was murdered 26 years ago," she began. "He was 34, an accountant, a church volunteer, a little league coach. He'd never been arrested, never been in trouble. The only thing he was guilty of was driving while black in the wrong neighborhood." She paused, letting the silence settle. "For 26 years I carried that loss, that anger, that grief. And for a long time, I thought justice meant revenge, meant making the man who killed him suffer the way I'd suffered." Heads nodded throughout the audience. "But I learned something during this fight. Justice isn't about revenge. It's about accountability. It's about saying never again and meaning it. It's about building systems that don't require the next 8-year-old to spend 26 years fighting for what should have been given freely: the truth." She looked out at the faces watching her. So many of them young, so many of them carrying their own losses. "My father's killer is in prison. That's more than most families get. But I didn't stop fighting when he was sentenced. Because there are still Sergeant Millers walking free. Still departments with quota systems they won't admit exist. Still families being told their loved ones reached for something when cameras prove otherwise." Maya's voice grew stronger. "So, this work continues, not for vengeance, for prevention, for change, for every child who shouldn't have to grow up the way I did." The room erupted in applause. After the summit, Maya found a quiet corner in the convention center hallway. Her phone buzzed, an email from an unfamiliar address. The subject line read, "Thank you." She opened it. "Dr. Sullivan, you don't know me. My name is Brandon Matthews. I'm David Matthews' son. I'm 17. I wanted to say I'm sorry for what my father did to you and your family. I know sorry doesn't change anything, but I need you to know that I'm not him. I'm applying to law school. I want to study civil rights law. I want to spend my life undoing some of the harm people like my father caused. I don't know if you'd ever consider mentoring someone with my last name, but if you would, I promise I'll work harder than anyone to earn it." Maya stared at the screen for a long time. She thought about cycles, about sons paying for father's sins, about whether redemption was possible or if some stains never washed clean. Then she hit reply. "Brandon, the sins of the father don't have to become the sins of the son. If you're serious about this work, let's talk. The fight is long, and we need everyone willing to carry it forward." Maya. That night, Maya returned to her apartment. The security detail was gone now, had been for months. The threats had mostly stopped, replaced by occasional hate mail she'd learned to ignore. She walked to her bedroom and looked at the wall where 2 photographs hung side by side. The first, Maya, at age 7, grinning gap-toothed, sitting on her father's shoulders at a baseball game. Marcus's hands held her ankles steady, his smile wide and unworried. The second, Maya last month, accepting the NAACP's Thurgood Marshall Award for Civil Rights Advocacy. Professional, composed, carrying the weight of everything that had come before. Between them, framed, was the last thing her father had given her before he died. A note he'd written on her 8th birthday. "Maya Bear, you're going to change the world someday. I can already see it in you. Never let anyone make you smaller. Never let them tell you your voice doesn't matter. You matter. Always. Love, Dad." She touched the frame gently. "I'm trying, Dad," she whispered. "I'm trying." Justice hadn't brought him back, hadn't healed all the broken places inside her, hadn't made the system perfect or even fair. But it had given her purpose, a way to transform grief into action, a path forward when staying still would have killed her from the inside out. Matthews would spend the rest of his life in prison. Miller would spend his retirement knowing he'd enabled a killer. Chen had found a new calling outside the system that betrayed him. And Maya had built something that would outlive them all. The work wasn't finished. It never would be. There would always be another case, another family, another fight. But tonight, for the first time in 26 years, Maya Harrison Sullivan slept without nightmares. Justice came, but it came with a cost. Not everyone who does the right thing gets protected. Not every guilty person faces consequences. And the system that enabled this didn't crumble overnight. But Maya didn't stop fighting, and neither should we. If this story stayed with you, leave a like and subscribe for more stories about the price of justice and the people who refuse to stop demanding it.